Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming back. Today we are going to learn how to write linear equations in slope-intercept form. I'm actually going to teach you two different methods for how to do this. The first way I'm going to show you is the way that I was taught when I learned this for the first time many, many moons ago. The second way is taught more now, I think, than it used to be. It tends to be a little bit faster, but I think both ways are useful. So I'll show you both, and then you can, for my class anyway, my students can just pick which way they like better. As long as they get the end result, I don't care which method they use to get it. Okay, so option number one is to start with what's called point slope form of your equation, and then you're going to solve that for y. When you get y by itself and it says y equals, once it's simplified like that, then you automatically end up with slope-intercept form. So point slope starts out really ugly and messy though. It's y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Now the x1 and the y1 will get replaced. Those are just the coordinates of a point that's on your graph. And the m will get replaced. M is for your slope. So the only variables that are actually going to stay variables are the plain old y and the plain old x. So here's what you do. Let's say you're given that this particular line that's going to be graphed goes through 2, -4, and it has a slope of 3. So I'm going to use this as x1, y1. My slope is my m. And I'm going to start plugging them into this equation. So I'm going to do y minus the -4 equals 3 times x minus 2. And then I need to simplify. Minus -4 is really y plus 4. It'll write for me. And then distributive property. If you're in my class or you saw my distributive property video, we've got to get our mailman to work. He's got to distribute mail to every house in that parentheses neighborhood. And in math land, you distribute by multiplying. So that becomes 3x minus 6. Now to start solving for y, you've got to get rid of the 4. So I'm going to subtract the 4 from both sides. And you end up with y equals 3x minus 10. There's your final version. Let's do another. Okay, so here's another one. Whoops, my 2 kind of got erased. Where you know a point that's on the graph, and then you know the slope. So this is going to be my x1, y1. This is my m. So y minus 2 equals -1/2 times x minus 6. Start simplifying, so I've got to do my distributive over here. So this becomes y minus 2 equals -1/2 x, and then plus 3, because it's a negative times a negative. To get y by itself, I need to add the 2, and I end up with y equals -1/2 plus 5. So that's what you do if you know a point and you know the slope. If you're given 2 points, then you just have to find the slope first. So to get my m, we've done this before, rise over run. You rise to the top, so y's go to the top. To get from -1 to 5, that's 6 moves. To get from -3 to -1, that's 2 moves. So m, 6 over 2, is really 3. Then you pick one of those points. Whichever one you feel like looks easier. Usually if one of them has a 0, I go with that. Or if one of them has 2 positives instead of any negative numbers, go with that. Just whatever you think looks easier. I'm going to use the second point as my x1, y1. And I'm done with this one now. It was only there to help me get the slope. If you had individually decided to use the 3, -1, it's 100% fine. You're still going to get to the same end result as long as you do the math right. So I'm going to do y minus 5 equals 3 times x minus -1. And then I'm going to start simplifying. So this becomes y minus 5 equals 3 times x plus 1. Distributive. Now I have y minus 5 equals 3x plus 3. And then to get y by itself, I need to add 5. And I end up with y equals 3x plus 8. Let's do one more like that. So I don't have the slope. I've got to find the slope first. So for my m, to get from 0 to -1, that's a change of -1. To get from 5 to 6, that's a change of 1. -1 over 1 is just -1. Pick one of your points. I'm going to pick the one with 0 because why not use what looks easier? So y minus 0 equals -1 times x minus 5. Y minus 0 is just y, so y is already by itself. All I need to do is simplify over here, and I get -1x plus 5. Okay, so that's option 1. Option 2 is actually faster. I think it's a little bit easier, more straightforward, though what you're seeing right now on the screen and what you're going to hear me say probably sounds like it's way worse. But you're going to start right with your slope-intercept form, your y equals mx plus b. Instead of writing x and y, you're going to plug in the values from the point. And instead of writing m, you're going to plug in your slope. But you still don't know b, so you have to solve it for b. Once you know that, then you rewrite your equation. You put the y and the x as y and x, but then you just plug in your numbers for m and b. So what I'm going to do is go back through those same 4 examples that I just showed you, but I'm going to do them with the second method, and then you can pick which one you think makes the most sense to you. Okay, so y equals mx plus b. And now I'm going to plug those in. So instead of y, I'm going to put in -4. Instead of m, I'm putting in 3 times, instead of x, I'm putting in 2, and then plus b. So -4 equals 6 plus b. I'm going to subtract the 6, and I end up with -10 for b. So that means my equation, I'm going to put y equals m is 3x, and then plus b, that's going to be a negative or minus 10. It's the exact same equation either way. Let's do the next one. So y equals mx plus b. Instead of y, I'm going to put 2, the y coordinate, equals -1/2 times 6, and then plus b. So that becomes 2 equals -3 plus b. To get rid of that -3, I need to add it back in. So I find out b is 5. So my equation is y equals, let's see, -1/2 x plus 5. Again, same exact thing. It's just a different approach to getting it. If you're not given the slope yet, then just like we did when we were using point slope form, you just have to find the slope first. So that part's not going to change. You're still going to get 3 for m for your slope. And then again, you still pick one of those points, whichever one you want to use. Since the first time I used -1/5, I'm going to do the same thing here with this one. Well, everything just like totally disappeared. There it goes. That was weird. I don't know when you're watching that. I'll have to check in playback if everything just all of a sudden disappeared. But that was really strange. Glad I didn't lose it totally. Because funny story, this is actually the second time I'm recording this video. I already had issues and had to restart once. Really don't want to have to restart again. Okay, so I'm going to use the same point for my x and my y. I'm going to plug these into y equals mx plus b. So I'm going to put 5 equals 3 is m times -1 plus b. So that's 5 equals -3 plus b. To get b by itself, I need to add 3. And I find out that b is 8. So my equation is y equals 3x plus 8. Ding, 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 same thing. Last one. You're still going to find your slope. It's still going to end up being -1. And then you need to pick which point you want to use. Since I did 5, 0 last time, I'll do 5, 0 this time. So this is going into y equals mx plus b. I'm going to substitute those values. So it's going to say 0 equals -1 times 5 plus b. So 0 equals -5 plus b. Add 5 to both sides. And again, we find out that b is 5. So my equation is y equals -1x, or negative x is the same thing, plus 5. Same thing. Okay, so that's it. If you're in my class, I really don't care which of those two methods you use. You pick the way that makes the most sense, because we're going to get the same thing in the end, so it doesn't matter to me. If you're not one of my students, then you may want to check with your teacher, because they may require you to do some of these with the point slope form first. It just kind of depends on what you happen to be working with at the time. But that is that. So thanks for sticking it out. Hopefully it helped. Reach out to me if you have any more questions. Feel free to subscribe if you need any more help with 7th or 8th grade math standards. Until